Welcome to the Body and Beyond podcast with Alice and Gina,
a podcast sparking discussion on all things health, mindset, fitness, goals, and motivation.
We strive to help you to boost your confidence, to take the lead in your own life, to back yourself, and to step into your full potential. Body and Beyond is proudly sponsored by The Seed Cycle. The Seed Cycle is a beautiful female-founded Australian company. Seed cycling is a natural methodology that you can use to support your menstruation and your ovulation, and it can even be used to support your hormones through perimenopause and menopause. Use the code BODYANDBEYOND at the Seed Cycle website www.theseedcycle.com.au.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Body and Beyond podcast. I'm here today with our co-host, Gina.
Hello, in real life.
Yeah, in real life. Gina is up on the Gold Coast this time, which is very special. We always love having a film together podcast episode.
Yes.
And we are joined with the amazing Sarah Law. Now, Sarah is an IFBB Bikini Pro model, ex-performer, dancer, skin and nutrition expert. She also runs her own podcast with her husband called Healthy Living with the Laws, and helps women around the world age well and live their healthiest life through nutrition and specifically gut health as well. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you for having me, ladies. It's great to be here with you both.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Sarah. We are very excited for today's topic. So glowing from the inside out.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Sarah, I actually want to go right back to because you've got a history. Obviously, you've done sport, you've got your IFBB Pro card in bikini. And I would love to know more about just where you started, how you kind of got into the skin health and nutrition side of things and everything. Yeah. Tell us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my passion really came from not having great skin myself, and also having quite a few bouts of really not great health through not understanding how my body functioned. So when I was a dancer, I thought I lived a healthy life, as most of us probably think, but actually looking back, I really wasn't healthy at all. I bought into the low fat fad. I would have diet everything. And so literally I ate zero fat in my diet and just loads of processed carbs, thinking I was being healthy. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my goodness, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done things so differently. And at the time, my skin health was terrible. I had one of those antibiotic roll-ons that the doctors prescribed for acne. My skin was quite grey and dull, and it just wasn't great. And I know now why. I wasn't feeding my skin from the inside. Eating no fat was not supporting my skin in any way, shape, or form. So I kind of lived like that for quite some time as a performer. And then I knew that I really wanted to learn more. And I just got to this phase with my performing career where I knew it was something I couldn't do for the rest of my life, obviously. And so I was looking at other avenues of what am I passionate about? And I truly believe that we find the things that we're meant to find at the right time. And also I've always wanted to make sure that whenever I'm working, it's doing something that I have a passion for. I don't want to work just to earn money. So I was basically searching. I was like, right, what do I really want to do with my future? And I was looking at doing nutrition courses. I was looking at doing beauty courses, doing makeup courses. And I was like, oh, they all sound amazing, but I don't quite know where to begin. And at that point, I then was introduced to a skincare brand that one of my friends was working with. And she shared the products with me, and I fell in love with what the brand stood for ethically. And through that brand, I then went on to learn a lot about skin health. And it was kind of like this fire was lit within my belly, that I knew that this was the right path for me. So that's what then encouraged me to go to college, train as a naturopathic nutritionist, and then really focus on skin health, because I knew that through the journey that I'd been on through my own skin journey, that I wanted to help other people not feel like that. So that's kind of where the whole passion came from, really, is through my own kind of insecurities about what my skin was like and what my health was like, knowing that I didn't want other people to go through that so I could help them.
Yeah.
How old were you when you went through this?
So it was mainly like in my 20s that my skin was terrible. And it was, most people think in their teens is when you go through the spotty phase, but mine was way later. It was in my, mid to late 20s. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Why now is this happening? And it's just because my body wasn't being fed the right nutrients that it needed. And I wasn't looking after my skin in the way that it needed to be done. So it was my late 20s, early 30s that I then studied nutrition. And went on to become a naturopathic nutritionist, which was over 10 years ago now.
Yeah, wow. And might I say, you do have glowing skin.
You do.
Thank you. I always take that as a really big compliment, because looking back at where I used to be, and it's really interesting because I don't have many pictures of what my skin was like before. So people always think, oh, you've always had great skin. And I'm like, I just didn't take any photos. And if I did take photos, I was wearing the thickest foundation that was like wall paint, so that I would cover up my own insecurities about my skin.
How long were your studies at uni to be a naturopath, nutrition and naturopath?
So it was 4 years that I studied for. And I was also doing that alongside still being a performer. So at the time I was working the two together. I was on tour in a musical, and then I was studying at the same time, and then finally kind of left the dance world behind and then went full-time into the health world instead.
Yeah, very similar to me, actually. I was ex-dancer as well, then into like bodybuilding, fitness and nutrition. Similar, I guess. It's similar in the fact that you mentioned, like, you go through these journeys yourself, and it's almost like sometimes you have to go through that in order to, it's like we all go through that, right? We all go through a time where we can reflect back and go, if I had have known that 5 years ago. But everyone kind of has their own journey in the same sense, that it's just like you can't look back and be annoyed about it, but I truly believe, absolutely. Those moments in life happen for a reason, because they lead you to where you're meant to be. And it's like, you can't get to where you are without going through the challenges, because otherwise you can't relate to the people who are going through it. And most people relate to the people who have been through what they're going through. So I think it makes you a much more rounded coach and a person more equipped to help other people when you've been through it yourself.
Yes. And often it works the other way as well, where people may not listen to advice or to make the changes until they start to deal with their own health concerns or challenges, or, so people sometimes don't make change preemptively. Some do, but
not many. I always say, is like one of our biggest kind of downfalls as human beings is we don't take action before it gets to a crisis point. A lot of the time we think everything's good, and then the body will hit breaking point at some point. And that's when we take action, rather than doing it so we don't have to reach the breaking point.
100%. Yeah.
And obviously it's quite holistic, healing from where you were to getting really healthy. But what would you say the key couple of differences were, like the differences that made the difference with your health?
Oh, good question. Definitely focusing on my gut health, 100%. And that was something I knew nothing about 15, 20 years ago. And to be honest, I don't think it was really being spoken about 15 to 20 years ago. It's like now mainstream medicine is catching on that gut health is vital for overall health, because it impacts every single part of the body and every function in the body. And, our brain health, our skin health, it all comes back to what our gut is doing. So really, paying close attention to what was going on in my gut made a massive difference. And also really learning how stress impacted my body. I think was really important for me too. I've got quite a type A personality. So when I want something, I will work for it, and I'm very driven, but sometimes to the point where it's too much and I don't know when, the cutoff point is. So really learning how to balance my nervous system and, work on my body's resilience to stress made a huge difference as well, because stress will also then massively impact the gut, which then massively impacts the skin. So it all, that's the beautiful thing with the human body. It's not like, one part here and one part there. It all works in synergy. And I think that's, again, one of the main struggles with mainstream medicine is they try and compartmentalize the body. So you'll go and see a specialist about this or a specialist about that. And it's like, you can't really do that, because everything works together. And even though I focus on skin health, when I'm doing consults with clients, the first thing we look at is their gut health. And then we look at their stress, and then we look at their lifestyle factors. So it's like, all these different things come into play when you're looking at someone's skin. You can't just be like, right, we're just going to focus on that one thing.
Because it's the body's biggest organ, isn't it? The skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Shows what's going on underneath or on the inside.
Totally. It's a reflection always. And I think the problem is a lot of people don't see it as that. And I never used to. I just kind of used to think it was like the sack, you know, the sack for keeping my organs in place, like a sausage. And I realized actually it's a living, breathing organ. It's got many functions, and it is a massive reflection of what's going on internally. So you will always see the internal health of your body through your skin, which is great. It's giving you warning signs.
Well, we should definitely cover stress as well, but let's start with gut health.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest lessons around gut health, or biggest things you've implemented personally, what you support your clients with or recommend as well?
So there's a couple of factors really. It's making sure that the gut microbiome is in balance and in a good place. So the kind of analogy I like to give to people all the time is if you think of your gut like a garden, and in a beautiful garden, you have lots of different species of beautiful flowers, all these different types of flowers. And you may have like a few weeds lurking around the edge, which is fine. You can deal with a few, but if you start to, feed the weeds and you don't look after the flowers, don't water the flowers, don't feed them, then the weeds run rampant through your garden. And before you know it, you've just got a bed of weeds and no beautiful flowers. So our gut microbiome is very, very similar to that. We have all these different species of bacteria that are absolutely vital for human health. They produce vitamins and minerals for our bodies. They help us break down foods. They help us get rid of toxins. They help balance our hormones. They help balance our blood sugar. There's all these different wonderful little critters living in our gut. And if they go out of balance, then we as human beings are not in balance. So learning how to make sure that the gut microbiome is in a good place and you've got a thriving garden and you're not feeding the weeds is the most important thing. So what I often see with a lot of clients is they're doing the things that are feeding the weeds, not the flowers. So it's about switching that over and going, right, let's nurture the garden and let's stop feeding the flowers all the time. So that's kind of the first part. And then the second part is looking at the gut lining. So again, one of the most common things I see is people who have got either like an inflamed gut lining or they've got a leaky gut, where the cells of the gut lining have kind of come apart. And that means undigested proteins can escape through the gut. The majority of the immune system is located in the gut lining for good reason, because it's there to protect us and to make sure that foreign invaders aren't escaping through the gut into the bloodstream, because that's hugely damaging to the body. So, every time we've got these undigested proteins escaping through because the cells have come apart, then we're getting this massive immune response going on in the body, which causes a lot of inflammation and destruction. So it's working on those two factors with people and just making sure that their gut lining is happy, removing the most common foods that are going to cause the inflammation and the damage, and then instead putting in all the good stuff that's going to feed their good gut microbiome and not feed the weeds, essentially.
And so what does feed the beautiful flowers of our gut microbiome?
Yes. So prebiotics are amazing. So prebiotics, think of them like manure. They feed the probiotics. So the probiotics are these good bacteria that we have. We need to feed them. So just like human beings, they need to be kept alive. If we don't feed them, they die off. So by feeding them with prebiotic things, prebiotic foods, then you're going to keep them thriving. So fiber is great for feeding your gut bacteria. Certain prebiotic foods are fabulous as well, like garlic and onions and all those kind of nice veggies a lot of the time are the things that feed our good bacteria. So making sure that they're thriving. You can also supplement if you want to make sure that your bacteria, your good bacteria, are thriving. So that's the main things. I always say to people, it really is going back to basics a lot of the time. The things that we know, but we kind of dismiss, fruit and veg, fiber, all the real whole foods are the things that are going to nurture your gut microbiome.
And I heard like sauerkraut is another good one that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Sauerkraut can be amazing. Kimchi, sauerkraut can be fabulous they are prebiotic foods. So yeah, they can, repopulate the gut essentially and put the good bacteria in there and feed them.
You mentioned leaky gut. Is that probably one of the most common things that you come across or that you hear about that is sort of the major issue with gut health as such?
Yeah, it's a really big one. And a lot of the time people don't realize they've got it, because it's not like you'll get, warning signs in your gut like bloating and gas and things that people think, oh, it's my gut, but it might result in headaches and skin issues and, inflamed skin, or all these inflammatory skin conditions that we see, or achy joints or foggy brain. It can manifest in so many different ways in the body. So people often don't put it down to, oh, it's the fact that my gut is leaky, but the reason it does that is because, like I said, it causes this massive inflammation in the body. The immune system is doing what it's supposed to do. It's reacting to foreign invaders coming through the gut lining. So it's doing what it's supposed to do. But that kind of inflammatory response, when it's too big and when it doesn't need to be so necessary, is what's causing all these other symptoms within the body, not in the gut, essentially.
I see. And I'm not sure if this is right, but to my understanding, does it also possibly include maybe not the gut microbiome not being able to digest a lot of the vitamins and minerals that you actually are consuming? So it can just be like passing through and you're not actually getting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I often say to people, you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. So if your gut is not in a great place, you're not absorbing. You could be putting all the right things in, the best fuel into your body, but if you're not absorbing it, it's not doing what it's meant to do, because it's not going into the bloodstream and being delivered to the cells that need it. So if the gut is not functioning in that way because we haven't got the right bacteria, or we've got this inflamed gut lining where things aren't, the right things aren't absorbing through, then absolutely we're not being fed. We're not getting what we need.
So if someone was in the position right now and they're listening to this podcast going, oh, I could have leaky gut, or I don't think I've got the best gut health, what's the first steps that they could take in this situation moving forward from there?
So there's a couple of things. I mean, the most basic, simple thing I always say to people is strip it back to basics again and go to eating real whole foods as much as humanly possible, because they are the things that our body recognizes and knows is good for us. So fruits, vegetables, organic quality protein sources, go right back to that, because that's going to make sure that your body is, getting what it needs, and is feeding the right things and not the bad things. So that would be my first step. And again, if we look at a lot of people, especially in kind of the fitness world, there's a lot of protein powders and there's a lot of pre-workouts and things with lots of, colors and flavors and artificial sweeteners, all these things that can really disrupt the gut microbiome. So it's kind of, letting go of that for a while and just getting things back in balance. And that doesn't mean forever. It doesn't mean you can never touch a pre-workout again. But I am also very, honest with my clients about being really mindful about the ingredients that you are consuming on a daily basis, because I see it a lot in the fitness world in particular. We've just come back from the Arnold's in the UK. And it was so interesting walking around, because I was like, well, this is a health and fitness show, but every single stand, I was like, where's the health and fitness? Like, really? Or maybe there's fitness, but health doesn't always go with fitness. And, I looked at the ingredients and so many of the packages that I was seeing, and I was just like, wow, that is not, in my opinion, health. And then there was donut stands and cookie stands, and because they said high protein, apparently it's healthy. And I'm like, no, when did that ever become a thing?
Yeah. And I think that's like a general misconception. And this is something that I often sort of communicate with my audience, is competing in bodybuilding isn't health. It's a sport. It's literally a sport. And it's not about it's not a competition on who's the healthiest. So a lot of it's very marketed and shaded under the idea that it's health, but it's fitness and it's a sport. And so health is absolutely a completely different picture, I guess.
100%. And you can do it in a healthy way if you know how, but that's the difference. Many people don't know how. So they think, looking great equals health. And it's like, not necessarily. If you could see what was actually going on inside your body, you might have a very different thought process behind it.
Yeah, it's funny. We were actually having this conversation today, June and I, as we were like, should we have a coffee or a pre-workout? And then we should probably, I was just mentioning how I would like to do a little like sort of cleanse of just basically like pre-workouts and stuff for a while.
Cut out supplements, especially after your comp. Right?
Yeah. And just go back to like the raw basics, just like what you said.
It's great to do. It's great to do every now and then, just so you, like I always say to people, it's just like having a bit of a reset, just going back to basics, resetting your gut, getting everything back into balance, and then slowly add things in and see what your body does. And it's really interesting, because when I lead clients through kind of a bit of a reset, there's people who think, right, gluten, I'm fine with gluten, I have no issues with it. We remove it from their diet, and then 30 days later they have some and they're like, oh my goodness, my body hates gluten. And it's like, yes, it does. And it probably did before, but you were so numb to knowing what that actually felt like. So you didn't realize that your body was hating it. And now it's really telling you, this is not good for me. I don't like it.
Yeah, wow.
I like how you brought up, the Health and Fitness Expo and potentially all the healthy snacks that are really just high protein snacks. What would you say? I have noticed that often people will have high protein snacks, cookies, even donuts, protein donuts now, like there's all sorts of junk foods on the market that have had protein added, and a lot of the time it may be plant-based protein, which isn't optimal for actually absorption, is it either? Or it's not as beneficial.
It depends what one it is. So with a plant-based protein, you really need to make sure that it's got the full amino acid profile in it, for sure. But then it's also, again, looking at all the other ingredients, you know. So I think that's where people often go wrong. They're like, brilliant, here's the macros, it says it's got 20 grams per serving, boom, I'm in. Exactly. And it's like, but what else is in there? What are the artificial sweeteners? What are the thickeners? What are, you know, all these other things that are probably in with it? So it's looking deeper and looking at the actual ingredients list, not just the macros. And I think, again, that's where kind of the bodybuilding community often goes wrong, is it's about macros. It's not about actually micros and actually quality ingredients.
Yeah, exactly. Like a protein bar is not 20-gram protein bar is with 20 grams of protein is not even close to 20 grams of chicken breast, for example. Like for a lot of people, like if a lot of people would go, oh, I need to hit 20 grams of protein, like, oh, it's the same thing. Like I could have a yummy chocolate bar for 20 grams, or I can eat boring chicken breast. And it's like, actually, they're not the same thing. Like they're going to do different things to your body still.
Absolutely.
Even though they're both protein, there's just so much more to it, I guess, than that.
Yeah, well, and especially when it comes to your gut health, because it's like those things, like I mentioned, the artificial sweeteners and the thickeners and all these gums and things, they're the ones that can really disrupt our gut microbiome. So it's looking at the, you know, the finer details that makes a difference. And that's not to say don't ever eat a protein bar again, but just, you know, be mindful about how many times that is your protein source. So I love a protein smoothie. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm a big fan of a protein smoothie if it's got the right ingredients in, because it's highly absorbable. It, you know, rests the digestive system because you don't have to chew. It's already broken down. So it's quite easily digestible for the body. But that doesn't mean that I, you know, have every meal as a protein smoothie and then have protein snack squares and then have protein bars and like you said, a protein cookie and a protein donut, and that is my diet. It's like, where's the nutrition in that?
Yeah, you got to look at the big picture.
Yeah. We spoke about what feeds the flowers or the good bacteria. What would you say does flourish the weeds? So what do people need to be avoiding from or reducing?
So artificial sweeteners are a big one that have been shown to really disrupt the microbiome, which means that they can, you know, disrupt that fine balance, which means the flowers are going to be starved a bit and the weeds are probably going to be fed. Obviously, excess amounts of sugar can really feed the weeds. And that doesn't mean don't ever eat sugar. And I'm not, you know, like a low carb fan at all. I did low carb myself and it was not good for me at all. And especially I think if you're, you know, exercising heavily and you're training, you're lifting weights, then you can really put yourself into a state of burnout by going really low carb. So it's just about being mindful about the types of carbs that you're eating and how many you're eating and balancing them out with everything else. So they're the kind of main ones that feed the bad bacteria. Industrial seed oils can be a big one that can really disrupt the gut microbiome as well. And again, I think this is one that's really not spoken about enough, and people are so unaware of industrial seed oils in so many things, especially packaged foods that they're eating every single day. And again, if you look at most protein bars and high protein snacks, they are loaded with refined vegetable oils, which are completely disrupting the gut microbiome, really disrupting how our DNA functions as well, causing inflammatory responses in the body, which can then impact the skin and the overall, you know, function of the body in general. So we really want to be mindful of industrial seed oils.
Yeah, it's a cheap filler, isn't it? So it's like a cheap source of fat, and so
absolutely
low cost or a really affordable. It's probably got that in to bind.
And I think the thing is, like, even when people will make a food swap, they might go from eating a chocolate bar to one of those health food aisle bars that are like more of a health food brand, but you look at the back, it still has all the same seed oils in it. So
it's just it's clever marketing, you know. You've gone from what's not deemed healthy to what is now deemed healthy, but actually really is pretty much the same thing in a different kind of packaging.
And it's so interesting when, like, people, you know, may make a few swaps, so their intention is good, and it needs to still be acknowledged because it's an earlier stage of change, isn't it? Sometimes making those initial swaps, but when people do feel much better and much healthier, like psychologically, for their decision, when really, like you said, it's misleading marketing potentially.
And all the alcohol sugars as well. That's a big one that people often find they've suddenly adopted this new healthy diet, and they're like, why am I bloated all the time? And it's because they're having all these alcohol sugars like maltitols and sorbitols and all these things that literally just bloat you and cause so much gas and distension with the gut. So it's those kinds of things as well that again are kind of looked at as being healthy, but actually a lot of the time they're really causing a lot of distress to the gut.
Absolutely.
And I think, like I was just gonna say, in general, as women, I think skin health is something we are quite conscious about. Overall, I think it's a topic that everyone cares about. Like, they want to have glowing skin. And so I think it's helpful to remind people it's more of an incentive as well to also take care of what you're eating in your diet as well.
And the thing is, a lot of the time people want the quick fix. So it's really interesting, if they've got something with their skin that they want to fix, they're like, right, what's the miracle cream? And it's so interesting because I feel like a granny, but I'm on TikTok as a 41-year-old woman. It's hilarious. And it's an interesting world, TikTok. And, I've done a lot of posts about skin health, and people are always like, right, what's the cream you use? What's the cream you use? And I'm like, yes, I'm a big fan of skincare, and absolutely, it's a vital part of having healthy skin, but you cannot out cream a bad diet. You can't eat crap and expect your skin to be great because you've put a miracle cream on. It doesn't work like that. So it's always like diet first, skincare is like the icing on the cake, but people want the quick instant gratification. They want the quick change. And also I think because food is quite an emotional thing, people don't want to give up what they love. So they'd much rather change their skincare brand than, think, right, actually, I need to get rid of the crap that I'm eating.
Make a change.
The tough truth though, right? And people definitely need to hear that, I think. And it's the same in the industry too, right? Always looking for the quick fix and the pill rather than, or the supplement, the fat burner.
Exactly. Than actually doing the work.
You mentioned stress earlier, and I was still curious, going back to gut health and going back to leaky gut, what impacts does stress have on our gut health and potentially like leaky gut as well?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. So the thing, when our bodies are in this constant stress response, stress is a very healthy thing. Like, we need it. We need that stress element. We need cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones. And people always deem cortisol as being the bad guy, but it's actually vital. We couldn't live without cortisol. We would be dead. So it's like, you'll get up and go, it's your energy. But the problem is, when we're in this constant state of low level stress, which a lot of people live in nowadays with the way the world is, with technology around us and environmental toxins and work stress and life stress and all, everything that's going on in the economy at the moment, people live in this constant level of stress. And basically what it does is it really disrupts digestion, because when our bodies are in that place of stress, they don't know what the stress is that you're experiencing, whether it's mental stress, whether it's work stress, whether you're running from a saber-toothed tiger. So it will produce the same response in the body. And your body's main role is survival. So it will do whatever it can to make sure that you are safe and that you are not going to be eaten by that saber-toothed tiger. So what it does is it goes, right, okay, what are the things that are not important for me right now? Let's just stop those processes. So if you were running from a saber-toothed tiger, the most important thing is having the energy to run. So you need the blood flow to go to your muscles. So you've got that energy to run. So all energy gets diverted from your gut when you're in a state of stress to your muscles. And that means basically digestion shuts down. So your stomach acid production lowers massively. Your digestive enzyme production lowers massively as well. And those two things are vital for digestion. If your stomach acid is really low, you might be eating food that contains pathogens or bacteria, and you haven't got the stomach acid to kill it off. You're also not going to digest properly because stomach acid is needed to break down foods. And again, with digestive enzymes, they are vital to break down food. So when your digestive enzyme process shuts down or lowers, you're not going to digest what you need to digest as well as you need to. So like we spoke about earlier, you could be putting all the goodness in, but if you're not breaking down that food into its smallest components to be absorbed through the gut lining into the bloodstream, then you're not going to be actually getting those vitamins and minerals that your body so crucially needs. So that's a huge part of what stress does to the gut and therefore the rest of the body. And then when it comes to the gut lining, not only can it cause that kind of gap process in the between the cells, it can actually make the cells themselves become permeable. So even if your gut lining is intact, the cells of the gut lining can become permeable, so things can actually go through the cells, and that's caused by stress. So that's why looking after your mind, thinking about your stress levels, practicing all the techniques to help your body become more resilient and learn how to deal with stress better are absolutely vital for your overall health.
Yeah, so powerful. Do you have any specific things that you recommend when it comes to managing stress?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a big believer in a good morning routine to get your brain and body in a great place first thing in the day and to help how your body deals with stress. So for me, things like doing meditation makes a huge difference. The thing that can be slightly challenging with meditation for some people is it depends where they're at in a stress response. So if you say, for example, are in a real fight or flight mode and your body thinks you're running from danger, meditation probably isn't going to have much of an impact because your body is like, this is the last thing you need to be doing is sitting here, zen, you need to be running. So it's sometimes, not necessarily the right thing at that point, depending on what your stress levels are like. But when I do love a bit of meditation, but breath work can be incredible as well. Breath work can be so powerful in modulating the nervous system and balancing out the two branches of the nervous system. So I'm a big fan of breath work. Practicing gratitude is another one, again, that can automatically really reset the nervous system and really help our bodies deal with stress, because when we're in a place of true gratitude, we don't feel that stress element. You start to let go of a lot of the things that are on your mind, essentially. So practicing gratitude and getting your body into a state of joy can make a real difference. And then I know it's sometimes challenging when you are feeling a huge amount of stress in your life, but finding things that just bring joy into your life. And that will be different for every single person. For me, sometimes it's just music, putting on music and dancing like an idiot, something like that, where I'm just like, I let go of all the things that are stressing me out or worrying me. And my body just goes into this state of kind of happiness, can make a really big difference. And rest and sleep. Forgot that one.
Yeah. Sleep. That's another one, isn't it, on itself?
Yeah, huge. And again, one of the things that is so overlooked, people think I can get away with 4 hours. And I'm like, no, you can't. You might now, but trust me, it'll bite you on the ass. It's not good for you. Sleep is vital for recovery. It's vital for everything in life.
Yeah. And then also being kind to yourself, hey? The way we talk to ourselves is massive.
Absolutely. It's so interesting when you start to look at the power of your own mind and what thought processes create in the body. The physical processes that come from thought processes, everything starts from thought. So when you start to think things, that will cause a cascade of different hormones, being released in your body. And I always like to give the analogy of a lemon. If you really think hard enough about cutting a lemon in half and picking it up, smelling it, and then biting that lemon, you'll produce saliva in your mouth. And that has happened just from a thought. So it's so powerful in knowing that your thoughts have so much power on physical processes happening within your body.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Now, so we've covered the inside out kind of approach. We'd love to also know, when it comes to glowing skin and just, I guess, as well, and aging as well, what would be your key suggestions from the outside in? So like products or topical, like chemical.
Oh my God, I love this.
Vitamins and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we start to age, supporting collagen production is crucial. And from our mid-20s onwards, we start to lose the production of collagen within our own bodies, which is sad times. I mean, you think mid-20s, you're like, I'm still a baby. And then you're like, oh no, I'm already losing collagen production. That's great. And then as you go through the menopause, that's a big one. In the first 5 years of menopause, you lose about 30% of collagen production within your own skin. So that's why women notice a dramatic difference in their skin and aging when they go through the menopause, because that lack of estrogen also leads to a lack of collagen. So kind of keeping collagen production as high as possible is vital. And that can come from obviously supplementation, thinking about what we eat and drink, but also from skincare, making sure that we're using ingredients that stimulate collagen production. So people often ask me about supplementation, and yes, absolutely, you can add in collagen. Collagen peptides can be a great one at supporting the body. But then also adding in like cofactors of collagen synthesis can be great. So things like vitamin C, which actually your body needs. You need vitamin C to be able to produce collagen, can be great. So making sure you're getting enough vitamin C or supplementation in the diet to help with that collagen synthesis can be amazing. From an external perspective, again, within your skincare routine, having a stabilized vitamin C source is amazing for collagen production. And I always say to people about making sure it's an oil-based stabilized vitamin C. It needs to be stabilized, because if not, you're not getting what you think you're getting. But the problem with something like vitamin C is because it's such a potent antioxidant, it degrades very, very quickly. So if it's not in a stabilized form, by the time you put it on your skin, it's probably not actually the grade of vitamin C that you thought it was. So having a stabilized version means it stays stable, exactly what it says on the tin. And when it's oil-based, it's able to enter into the skin easier, which means it can help with that collagen production. So vitamin C can be amazing. Another one of my favorites is retinols. So retinols, if you went to a dermatologist, they would probably say they are the gold standard in anti-aging. And you can get different grades of retinols as well. And it's really important to kind of look at the different grades. And the thing that a lot of people do is they go, right, I'm going for the strongest because they want the best results. But often actually that can damage the skin barrier. So it's really being mindful about your own skin as well and what it can personally take. And I've done this myself, where I've used products that are far too harsh, and it's actually made me look 20 years older, and my skin has been like flaking off and terrible. And it was because I damaged the skin barrier, which is something you don't want to do. So using retinols can be great, but be mindful about the types of retinols and whether your skin is able to take those retinols, because not everybody can. I personally use a time release retinol, which basically means that it seeps into the skin overnight. So rather than being like in one big go, it does it through the whole night, which is amazing, in little kind of dribs and drabs. So that can be great. The reason retinols are so powerful is they increase cell turnover. So when we are babies, we have incredible skin because we have new skin every 8 weeks. Like we've got a completely new skin every 8 weeks. And as we age, that process slows down. So as we get older, we're having less new skin cells and less new skin as often. So retinols and vitamin A, because retinols are a type of vitamin A, basically increase skin cell turnover rate. So it's like having newer skin quicker. They also help to kind of slough off the old dead skin cells on the top, which can often make the skin look quite old and grey. So by kind of removing those old skin cells, you're allowing the new skin cells to come through, and also you're allowing products to get into the skin better because you haven't got this kind of old dead skin sitting on the surface. So that can be great. Another one of my all-time favorites at the moment is peptides. So peptides are just incredible in all shapes and forms. You can actually do peptide therapy to support loads of different functions in the body. And I believe these are going to be the future of medicine. They can help with muscle growth. They're natural. They can help with weight loss. They can help with skin health. They can help with gut function. And all they are is kind of like the components that actually make up amino acids, which then make up proteins. So they're a very, very natural thing, but they're kind of in their finest little element, they have such powerful effects. So peptides you can use internally, but also peptides within your skincare routine can be so powerful. And the way they kind of work is peptides are released in the body when collagen is broken down within the skin. So it's like they're kind of like a mayday signal. When collagen is being broken down, your body goes, oh my goodness, mayday, mayday, collagen is being broken down. Let's release these peptides to send signals to the body to say, make more collagen. So when you add certain peptides into your skincare routine, it's sending that same mayday signal that collagen is being broken down and telling the body to basically make more collagen, which is genius. So it's helping keep the collagen production higher, which I just think is epic. So there's so many things you can do from next time.
Sorry, how do you buy them? Like, how are they, like, what are they shown as on packaging or when you're purchasing peptides?
So in many different forms, it depends which one. So there's one called copper peptide, and it should be listed as copper peptides. There's other ones that come from different plants. So they might be listed as tripeptides or dipeptides, and they'll have like a plant or botanical name before them. So it should be quite obvious on packaging with skincare if they're in there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Very good. I was also looking at your Instagram earlier and noticed, can you explain the benefits of how do you say it? Gua sha?
Gua
sha. Yeah.
And how it can help our like lymph system and drain toxins and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so our lymph system is incredible. Our lymph system basically helps to drain toxins out of the body, and it also helps to deliver nutrients around. The problem with the lymph system is, unlike our blood through our veins, it doesn't have a pump. So obviously we have a heart that pumps the blood around the body. That's why we can deliver the nutrients that we need. But with the lymph system, it's quite stagnant unless we kind of move it. So exercise and things help to stimulate the lymph system, which then helps to drain toxins and move fluids around the body. So the gua sha does the same kind of thing within your face. And I think it's quite easy to forget that we've got that same kind of lymph system within the face. I definitely didn't used to think about it at all. I was like, I'd think about lymph nodes around the armpits and around the neck and behind the knees and things like that. But then I didn't realize, we've got a lymph system within our face as well. So by helping kind of stimulate the lymph system within the face, it can help to draw toxins out of the skin and away from the skin and out of the body, which obviously is going to help the skin glow and look amazing. It's also going to help, the gua sha can help with just blood flow as well. So when you're stimulating blood flow, it means you're getting more circulation to the skin, which means more nutrients are going to be delivered to the skin also. So our goal really is that we want as much nutrition to be going to every single skin cell as humanly possible. And things like a gua sha, just doing that kind of really small ritual can help with that lymph drainage, but also helping the nutrients be delivered to the skin through the bloodstream.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for that.
Love it.
Clever.
Thing I would love, just for fun, is if you could share with us, like, literally your skincare routine for the day, like from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed.
How long have you got? And I used to be the person who had the worst skincare routine. If I look back again to when my skin was not good, I look back and I'm like, now I can see why. My diet was awful and my skincare routine was a baby wipe and a cream that said, and any cream that said anti-aging, as long as it said anti-aging. And I was like, brilliant. And the reason I kind of did that was because I just thought everything's the same. Nothing really makes any difference. You could buy the cheapest stuff and you could buy the most expensive and they're probably about the same. And I wasn't far wrong, to be fair, because marketing can be very clever and you could buy the most expensive cream on the market and it could still have things like mineral oil in, which is a byproduct of the petroleum industry and is a really cheap bulking agent. So, you have to be really mindful about expensive doesn't always mean better. Sometimes, yes, quality of ingredients absolutely can make a big difference. And probably when you're paying more, you are going to get better quality ingredients, but there may still be bulking agents and things in there that are stopping actually the good quality ingredients being absorbed into the skin properly. So it's really looking at skincare as a whole and going, yes, the cheapest of the cheap, there's a reason it's really cheap. If you buy from the supermarket or whatever, the grocery store, there's a reason it's that cheap. It's full of bulking agents. The active ingredients in there are probably so minimal that you're really not getting what you need.
And sometimes,
but again,
the expensive brands may be expensive as well because they're paying for a lot of marketing and celebrity endorsement.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah.
So
if you think, celebrities get paid billions.
The toxins.
What is it? PFAs or
PFAS, is it? PFAS, yeah.
Parabens and mineral oils and phthalates, all those are something. And I think people are becoming a lot more wary of it, which is great news because it was something that people just didn't think anything of. And I think there's been a lot more, research and a lot more publicity about the dangers of, certain chemicals in products and how they can absorb into the body and become, xenoestrogens, which can then really impact our female hormone levels and things like that. So it's becoming a lot more of a mainstream known thing, which is great. But I think still, there's people who still are unaware of it or don't believe it or just are kind of like, oh, that won't happen to me. I'm fine. And again, you just don't know. You never know how your body is going to react. And it's not saying that using a cream once that's got parabens in or using a cream that's got phthalates in once is going to have a dramatic impact. But if we think about the amount of products, particularly as women, we're using on a daily basis for how many years of our lives, and those products, those ingredients that can absorb into the skin are accumulating in our fat tissues. What's the long-term impact of that? And you might not see it now, but it's seeing it in the future. And that's why I always talk about, you want to stay in a body that's healthy forever. You don't want to have to get to that point where disease hits you. You want to do something about it now and be mindful of those things so you never get to that point. And I think that's what we should all be thinking about. And I often say to my clients, if you could see inside your body, would you still be eating the things that you're eating? And would you still be doing the things that you're doing? Probably not. But the problem is that we can't see what's going on inside. And we often don't feel what's going on inside until it's too late, until something really snaps and breaks. And then we're like, that's the wake up call. So it's just about being mindful of those things early enough to not get to that point. I've gone off on a tangent. I can't remember what the original question was. My routine. Yes. So now I actually learned how to look after my skin properly. My routine will always include a cleanser, obviously, to cleanse my face morning and night. Some people think, oh, I need to wash my face once. And I'm like, well, no, because in the morning you've had dead skin cells that have accumulated overnight. The regeneration process of the skin happens at night. So you have a lot of dead skin cells that kind of come to the surface at nighttime. So you want to slough them off in the morning. And obviously at nighttime, we've had a whole day of grime.
What's that word?
Slough.
Slough.
It must be a UK word, yeah.
It must be. I always think that everyone speaks the same as me, and then I'm like, no, probably like, what the hell does that even mean? Basically getting rid of it, sloughing it off. And then at nighttime, obviously you've got all this grime that has accumulated during the day, the environmental toxins, pollution that's basically attached to your skin, and you want to get rid of it. Also, a good quality cleanser. Toning is something that I do personally. It doesn't, it's not a massive part. So if you missed out a toner, I wouldn't be like, oh my goodness, your skincare routine is terrible. But it's also, again, with things like toners, about what kind of toner you're using. A lot of people use toners that are really astringent and they just strip the skin. And especially as you start to age, you don't want to be stripping all of the natural oils from your skin, because it will just make your skin look old and wrinkly. So you want to use toners that are more like a humectant, that draw moisture into the skin and prepare the skin basically for the kind of next layer that you're going to put on. So skincare really is about layering. So next, I will always in the morning use a serum. I always say to people, serum is like breakfast, lunch, and dinner for your skin. It should be packed with antioxidants and things that are going to really support the skin structure and fight off free radical damage. So free radicals are obviously everywhere in the world. We also produce them within our own bodies. So we want to counteract that free radical damage with as many antioxidants as possible. So a good serum, which is packed with antioxidants, can really support the skin in that way. A good quality eye cream. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they just get their normal day cream and they slap it all around their eyes. And I'm like, don't do that. The skin around the eyes is so fine. It's about 7 times finer than anywhere on the body. So if we're just getting our regular day cream, which is quite heavy, or our night cream and putting it on there going, well, it's the same ingredients, that heaviness is just going to cause bags and puffiness under the eyes, and then it's going to stretch the skin and cause wrinkles, which is the thing you're trying to counteract. So you want an eye cream that's light enough to be, applied around the eye area. It's specific for that area and contains certain things that support the collagen around the skin, but also support like depuffing. Like caffeine is great in an eye cream. It really helps with like depuffing, and it's great for fine lines and wrinkles. Obviously a day lotion with an SPF in. I'm a big believer in using a natural SPF rather than a chemically based SPF. Again, SPFs are one of those things that people use a lot, but they don't look into the actual damage that chemicals in those can do. And chemical SPFs can be very toxic to the body. So with a natural SPF of either zinc oxide or titanium dioxide can be like a more natural version of an SPF. With the titanium dioxide, you just want to make sure that it's not nanoparticles, because then they can get into the body. So that would be my kind of daytime routine. I now, neck cream is a big thing for me. And this is something I did not do. I really did not look after my neck at all. And that's my biggest regret is I started to really age on my neck, and I was like, oh my goodness. So then I went to the other extreme and I started to use ingredients that were far too active. And my skin literally looked like a 90-year-old woman's, because I'd broken my skin barrier and it was terrible. And I was like, oh, wow, now I've done the opposite. And then I kind of found the balance and used products that were active, but not too active. So they were still, doing what they needed to do, but not to the point where it was damaging my skin barrier. And then using a specific neck cream. The neck has so many less oil glands than the face. So you can use, a regular day cream there, of course. But if you really want, better results, then having something that's really specifically targeted to the neck makes a big difference, because of the fact that it does have a lot less oil. So it needs more nurturing and more nourishment in it than just what you'd put on your face. So that's kind of my daytime routine. Evening routine, I will add in a retinol as well. So at nighttime, I'll do my cleanse, my tone, then I use a retinol based product. I also have some pads that are kind of like, they've got, what have they got in them? They're basically really good at resurfacing skin again. So getting rid of the old dead skin cells and helping new cell growth. So I use those at nighttime as well, all over my face and all down my neck and down my décolleté. Never say that.
Is that every day?
Is that glycolic pads or glycol?
No, these ones aren't. They're less harsh than a lot of the like very strong acids. And again, that's one of the things, like acids like alpha hydroxy acids, beta hydroxy acids, glycolic acids can be amazing. Absolutely, can be so beneficial in many different kind of skin scenarios. So some are better for like acne prone skin, some are better for aging. So they can be amazing. But again, just being mindful of the percentage of acids within a product and how harsh they are. And some of them you probably wouldn't want to use every single day. But a lot of the things that I use aren't at the point where they're really, really strong so that I can use it on a daily basis. I'd rather do slow and steady than like aggressive, if that makes sense. And then the rest of my nighttime routine is pretty much the same as my daytime routine. Sounds like a lot of steps, and I used to think it was like, oh my God, excessive. But actually, when you start to get into a routine, it takes me like 2 minutes in the morning now and 2 minutes in the evening. And it feels like a real ritual for me. It's something that, you know, is self-care, which is something I didn't used to do very much of, being quite a, you know, type A personality, on the go, constantly striving. The last thing I did was take care of myself a lot of the time. And it, you know, though, just those small rituals can be your own self-care rituals to make you just take those moments for you again.
And do you put the retinol on your neck too?
I do, yes. Yeah, because it's not a really strong retinol. The alternative, I forgot to say, to retinols. So if people do struggle with retinols and they can't find one that's suitable for their skin, there's an ingredient called bakuchi oil, which I love. It's one of my faves, and it's actually in all of my skincare pretty much, because it acts like a retinol. It does the same thing, but with a lot less sensitivity. So it's a plant-based alternative, and people find that they can tolerate it a lot better than retinols. So it's actually in my night cream, it's in my eye cream, it's in, you know, my serum, it's in a lot of the things that I use.
And you use Arbonne, right?
Yes, yeah, I do. Yeah, I've been using them for 13 and a half years now. Nothing else has touched my face since. Unless I go for a facial, and then I'm like, what are you using? But I'm very picky when I go for a facial. I'm like, show me the products. Yeah, exactly.
Massage me with
what it is.
Love it.
So good. Anything else? Anything that we've missed, Sarah? I'm sure so much, but like anything else for tonight?
No, I could talk about it for days and days. I think one of the biggest things, especially with aging, again, is people don't realize the impact that diet has on aging of the skin. So it's really important to go back to the diet if you're worried about the aging process, because, you know, if you're not absorbing what you need, your skin's not going to be getting the nutrients that help it look younger. But also, like we were talking about earlier, any kind of inflammation in the body is going to make the skin look older. And also those industrial seed oils, things like that, really have a big impact on how our DNA functions. So in order to have a younger, healthier body in general, not just the skin, it's always coming back to diet. And one of the things people often say to me, which is, that's my doorbell. Good timing. One of the things that people, hopefully they won't answer. One of the things people often say is, oh, but you know, especially on TikTok is a savage world, I've discovered, is, oh, but you should just age gracefully. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'm not about, you know, denying aging and that I'm going to pretend I'm 15, you know, but it's about doing it in a way that feels good for you. And that doesn't mean that we give up and just think, well, I'm just destined to be wrinkly and, you know, put on weight and my body to not be able to do what it used to do. I just think that's ridiculous. It's like, no, absolutely. I see women in their 70s who have a cracking figure, who lift stronger and heavier weights than someone who's 15 and 20, 30. So, you know, aging doesn't need to be this life sentence that makes us feel like we have to give up hope and give up on all the things that we love and give up feeling good about ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
So
I feel, yeah, I mean, to me, that is aging. That in my head is a picture of aging gracefully, right? Is like taking care of yourself and continually put that effort in until you're past.
Well, this is it. It's like, why would you suddenly just give up?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm too old now, it's too late. And I'm like, but would you say that at 20? Oh, it's too late now? Well, no. So why would you suddenly stop doing it at 70 when actually that's the time you need to look after yourself more?
Yeah. Great advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Where can our listeners find you? Maybe on TikTok, it sounds like.
Good old TikTok. Yeah, wild old TikTok. So I'm on TikTok as at Sarah Law UK. Instagram's the same, Sarah Law UK. And then I've got links within my Instagram profile to my website and things like that. On my website, I've got lots of free downloads. So there's a I can't even remember what they're called. Eat Your Way to Glowing Healthy Skin webinar. There's a free glowing skin guide. There's a glowing skin quiz that you can take. And there's also like a kind of PDF that's a kind of all about mindful eating and nourishing your body so you can thrive in life. So there's lots of free downloads if anyone would like any of those.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Jinx.
Oh, you are so welcome. Like twins. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great being with you both.
Awesome. No worries. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. As you know, we're trying to build our body and beyond community. So if you loved this podcast, take a screenshot, share it with your friends, tag Sarah, tag Gina, tag myself. And
Yes, tag away.
Tag away. All right, guys, have a beautiful day.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
bye. The Body and Beyond podcast is for information purposes only. This podcast does not constitute advice or services, and the statements and views of the hosts and guests are not medical advice. The information provided should not be used for treatment or diagnosis purposes. Please discuss any information from this podcast with your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle.